Coming up on Mountain News this morning, heartbreak in the Commonwealth as Kentucky does not advance to the Final Four. We'll have a recap. And the National Football League faces backlash from locals because they do not want to see cherry trees removed. We'll tell you about it more. And one eastern Kentucky town celebrates a birthday today. We'll take you to their 200th year celebration.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning. It sure feels like a Monday. The time is about 6 o'clock. Let's check in with Brandon Robinson for a look at your forecast that also feels just like a Monday. Brandon.
It is a Monday, Connor. That's why it feels like a Monday. But
okay, yeah. True.
It's also April 1st, beginning of a new month. And this forecast, when I show it to you, you're going to think, he's crazy. He's pulling an April Fool's joke on us. No, I'm really not. I wish I were. Let's take a look at the graphics this morning. We start with satellite radar loop. No clouds this morning, so that means it's cold, and freeze warning is in effect until 10 o'clock this morning for all of eastern and southern Kentucky, for the most part anyway. I think a couple of counties up near I-64 not included. Over into southern West Virginia, parts of southwest Virginia, and East Tennessee this morning, it is frigid across the region. Everybody below 30, unless you go out toward Louisville there, all that concrete holding in just a little bit of heat out there, but 23 in Wise to 29 in Middlesboro. That's the range this morning. So lots and lots of coffee, taking it all the way up to max warming this morning. And frost. You'll need to scrape that car off, warm it up as you head out the door this morning, because there's going to be some of that frost on the cars, especially those that were sitting out all night long. I have the rest of the forecast coming up here in just a few minutes. Connor?
Thanks, Brandon. The Kentucky basketball season came to a heartbreaking end in overtime in the Elite Eight against Auburn. WYMT's Will Puckett and sports director Marcus Browning break down the loss from Kansas City.
Welcome inside the Sprint Center here in Kansas City. And Marcus, a sad day for Kentucky fans as they fail to make the Final Four for a fourth year in a row. And really, we felt like the Cats were out of it at one point, but Cal never did.
Cal never did. 77-71 in overtime to the Auburn Tigers. Auburn making their first ever Final Four appearance. In the first half, the Wildcats looked good until about the 5-minute mark. Auburn started chipping away. But even though that lead started coming down and the Wildcats didn't get off to the best start in the second half, John Calipari says he thought that the Wildcats were in this one until the very end.
They deserved to win the game. We got outplayed, got outcoached, and still had a chance to win the game. I thought we were going to win the game the whole way until the one or two plays in overtime. Never entered my mind that we weren't going to win the game.
P.J. Washington, the main force for the Kentucky Wildcats today, he had 28 points. He says he feels like he left it all on the court, but the Wildcats unable to get the job done here in Kansas City.
Yep, like you said, 77-71. And Marcus, Kentucky lost even though they were able, for the most part, to keep Auburn from hitting threes on this floor, which they sunk 17 of them against North Carolina. I met up with a handful of fans after the game, and some of them said it just came simply down to defense in the paint.
The two Auburn guards just drove to the basket. Harper's tough, and he beat us.
I think it was more UK's defense than their offense in the second half. They just weren't organized.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Kentucky's offense just slowed down in the second half, and it just seemed like the momentum was on their side. And it was a great game. I mean, like I said, life goes on tomorrow, so you just root for them and just wish them best.
Well, I think our game plan was working, and then it just didn't work. Go inside. I thought if we beat them on the threes, we'd win. Didn't hit the free throws. We got to hit the free throws. If you don't hit those, you're not going to win. So, and a lot of turnovers in the second half.
I think Kentucky took a lot of that away, and they let the point guard, Harper, drive the lane, and he scored quite a bit that way. And I think we picked our poison,
So now the question for Kentucky fans remains who stays and who goes. There's one person we know for sure is going, and he is probably the person who we felt the worst for, and that's Reid Travis.
Reid Travis wanting to go home to Minneapolis, his hometown, and the Wildcats trying to get him there to end his career up in Minneapolis for the Final Four. But all the Wildcats showed emotions walking off the court. Reid Travis's was probably the most. I'll have just a little bit more on that coming up in sports.
Yeah, the most heartbreaking for sure. Kentucky drops a heartbreaker here in the Elite Eight to Auburn 77-71. Inside the Sprint Center, he's Marcus Browning. I'm Will Puckett. We'll send it back to you.
Well, Kentucky fans on State Street were wanting to have a celebration. Instead, they mourned defeat. Lexington police were prepared for either outcome, but after the loss, there were a few problems. As the game ticked down, stop signs were taken down, streets were closed, and dozens of officers stood ready in riot gear. After the game ended, many simply left their homes and just walked.
Honestly, just disappointing. We got outplayed, and hand it to Auburn because they played really well, and we did not.
Lexington police say that most of the after-game mourning was done peacefully, and they did not make any arrests. Well, 53 years ago last week, 5 young men died in a Letcher County crash. A marker was unveiled in their honor this weekend at a dedication ceremony where the crash happened. The dedication took place at the Lower Twin Bridge in Letcher County. The crash happened on March 26, 1966. The group was headed home from a movie. 4 were Letcher High School students, and the other was a recent graduate. No one knows how the car crashed. You can read more about the dedication and the 5 young men on our website, WYMT.com. And police arrested a man who works as a massage therapist in Louisville Mall, accusing him of sexually abusing clients twice. Wong Kun Shen faces charges of rape, sexual abuse, and bribery. Police say the first incident was reported in December by a woman getting a massage at the Relax Place in Mall Street, Matthews. Chen was arrested on Friday. He was released from jail on a $10,000 bond. And have you ever used your cell phone to call 911? In many parts of the country, time is lost when a 911 operator can't easily identify where you're calling from while using a cell phone. It's a big problem that a small company is trying to fix. Here's Jamie Yukas.
It can happen in an instant.
Is everybody out of the water, do you know? No, they're not. They're screaming for people in the water.
Every day, more than 600,000 people call 911, many in desperate need of help.
Someone just kidnapped a girl on campus with a gun.
Yet the 911 network often falls short when it's needed most because it was built some 70 years ago for landlines. Today, about 80% of calls come from cell phones. Locating a mobile phone is based on cell tower triangulation. If a phone can connect with multiple towers, a location can be determined within an area of about 3/4 of a mile.
It's something we all of us just take for granted that this system just works.
Michael Martin learned firsthand how the outdated infrastructure can impact a crisis when he was mugged in New York City about 7 years ago. The 911 network could not pinpoint his exact location. So he launched a startup called Rapid SOS and spent 6 years creating technology that's transforming emergency communication.
911 Emergency Operative 122.
The Emergency Response Center in Los Angeles was among the first to adopt Rapid SOS.
If somebody's in the middle of a domestic violence incident, it's sometimes hard to even call.
And then sometimes they can't speak, so all they can do is dial and leave an open line, and all you hear is arguing. In the end, what we want is a location to send the police to get help to them.
And this has changed that?
Yes, definitely.
The FCC estimates over 10,000 lives a year could be saved if we could just more accurately locate people in an emergency.
Partnering with companies like Apple, Google, and Uber allows Rapid SOS to offer their location data enhancement to all emergency call centers for free. The new technology is now live in 911 call centers covering more than 65% of the population. But that still leaves millions of Americans at risk.
We just want to make sure that every 911 center is aware this technology exists, it's free, and it's ready today to help you save those lives.
Jamie Yukas, CBS News, Los Angeles.
After a fire truck wreck in November, the Island Creek Fire Department needed a new one. Nearly 4 months and many complications later, they finally have what they were looking for. Randy Courtney and his crew traveled up to New Jersey to pick up his truck. However, on the way back, the new truck blew a gasket on their engine, then popped a tire. Courtney says it's important to pick the right truck.
All 18 or 19 of us looking, trying to find us the right truck that would fit our needs and fit the community's needs.
The new truck is a 1996 Pierce Dash. It holds 750 gallons of water with a 1,500 gallon a minute pump. It's a top-notch pump, which is its safety feature. Randy Courtney says they will begin training members on how to drive the new truck tomorrow. And in Nashville, the National Football League needs 21 cherry trees in Riverfront Park to be removed to accommodate a 600-foot stage and other logistical elements for the upcoming NFL draft. The proposed removal faces backlash from locals. In a tweet, Mayor David Briley canceled Monday's removal of the trees and said that he informed the NFL and Nashville Convention and Visitors Corp that the trees will have to be removed intact and replanted elsewhere in the city. And Harlan County turns 200 years old today. On Friday, folks gathered outside of the courthouse to kick off what would be a year-long celebration. Officials say Harlan County formed 200 years ago, but needed a little push to get the government working. Locals say a lot of grit went into making the county what it is today, and they plan to keep working to make it better for the future.
Well, the forecast this morning as you head out the door, in a word, chilly. Let's take a look at the cameras here at 610 this morning, and you can see Buffalo Mountain all quiet. It's not the active weather that's causing issues because it's pretty quiet this morning. Clear skies, not too much going on. Whitesburg, Pine Mountain, US 119. It's the chill out there this morning. 23 in Wise to 29 in Middlesboro. That's the range as you head out the door, and it's going to be a jackets needed day for sure. You'll probably have to give yourself some time to scrape those cars off. You factor in that feels like temperature with a little bit of a breeze. Feels like the teens and low 20s in some spots. So again, you'll need the cold weather gear this morning. Sunshine for a while, a few more clouds later in the day as temperatures get close to 50, maybe make it just a degree or two above that, but not a whole lot of warmth today. That will come back though later this week. Connor?
Well, thanks for joining Mountain News this morning. More news is on the way. Coming up, we will introduce you to a group of remarkable kids. They are battling for their lives, but refusing to let anything stop them. And the physician groups are calling for several policies to limit access to sugar-sweetened beverages among children and teens.